Okay, Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Okay, this is our videos lecture part 3 for topic 5 objective and concept of financial accounting for IFIs. Okay, this is the topic outcome that I have present to you for the first video, part 1. So this is the learning outcome that we will learn. Okay, so let's continue from our part 2 videos. So in this part 3 videos, we will focus on the example of the conceptual differences between IASB and IFIs. So IASB, as I have been mentioned in videos part 2, IASB for conventional and for IFIs is for Islamic. So there is 6 examples which show you the differences between IASB and IFIs. The first one we will go through one by one. Okay, the first one, according to the research by International Sharia Research Academy ataupun kita know as ISRA research paper, there are 3 key issues related to takaful. First, the definition of takaful, which is not covered in IFRS, the classification of the card provided by the takaful operator, and the third one, the nature of financial statement reporting in takaful companies. Okay, this issue relate to the takaful. Okay, so apa yang AAOIFI buat? AAOIFI dah keluarkan standard untuk takaful. Okay, first, macam mana nak presentation and disclosure? Financial Accounting Standard 13 akan cerita disclosure on the basis of determining and allocating surplus or deficit in takaful. And untuk Financial Accounting Standard for 15 and 19, dia explain on the provision and reserve in Islamic insurance company and contribution in Islamic insurance companies. So this you may read by yourself what is the item ataupun the element yang ada dalam Financial Accounting Standard 12. This one dalam IFIs punya. IFIs yang keluarkan Financial Accounting Standard 12. Okay, this is the guideline by BNM. BNM juga ada keluarkan dalam MASB SOPI 1 dengan MFRS Insurance Contract. So, we will go through. Okay, this is the guideline. Guideline yang dah dikeluarkan dalam BNM. All these elements have been come out daripada BNM. So, they have a statement of financial position. Okay, everything of this you may read by yourself. Okay, this is the requirement of BNM to takaful providers. Apa yang requirement daripada BNM adalah the first one, inform the bank in writing 3 months in advance if any intention to change accounting policy. Kalau takaful providers tu nak ubah apa-apa accounting policy, they have to write in and inform to the bank 3 months in advance, 3 bulan awal. And report the asset and liabilities of takaful funds separately from asset and liabilities of takaful operators. The third one, present family takaful contract liabilities. The fourth is report the investment linked contract as takaful contract. And the last one, disclosure of expenses or expense liabilities. Okay, so benda yang penting, what is important, you have to know the example, apa kriteria untuk membezakan takaful and insurance. Takaful have been come out from the Islamic. Takaful dia menjalankan principle ataupun it will guidance pada syariah. Tapi kalau insurance, dia lebih kepada konvensional yang tawarkan insurance. So, takaful dalam AOIFI, it's prohibited untuk element of qarar. This one should be prohibited. Maksudnya dia kena elakkan lah kan. Tapi kalau insurance, dia ada all these elements. Riba, maisir, qarar. But untuk syariah supervision, the objective is to ensure that the activities of company are carried out accordingly to principle of syariah. So, kalau syariah supervision pula, this one have follow the principle syariah, but this one does not have syariah supervision. Syariah supervision ni kenapa perlu ada? Untuk memastikan IFIs atau Islamic bank menjalankan diorang punya business according to the syariah. Tapi sebab insurance ni selalunya conventional bank yang akan provide conventional bank, so dia takkan dia takkan ada syariah supervisions. Okay, so the account known as tabarruk, which mean donations. The other one treated in line with the principle of mudarabah. And kalau untuk insurance pula, the account is known as general insurance account and life insurance account of fine. Ni macam biasalah insurance yang ditawarkan. Okay, next is dari segi bonus. Kalau untuk takaful, specify from the outset how the profit from. Dari mana profit from, so that kalau in takaful it is more clear dari mana profit yang didapat. So takaful investment are share between the operator, mudarib kita call dia, dengan participant sahib ulmal. So kalau dari segi bonus, yang penting the users ataupun the parties tahu bonus tu dari mana. Sebab kalau kita tak tahu, benda tu adalah uncertainty. Maksudnya kita tak tahu dari mana sumber tu, which means that it is halal or haram. So apa yang penting kalau dalam takaful, it must be clearly informed to the participant whether what is the profit, the bonus tu datang daripada mana. Tapi kalau untuk insurance, may offer bonus or profit in general terms only, especially with profit policies. There is no abstract specification with regard to the profit sharing contract. Dia tak ada specifications on the profit sharing contract. It may also decide to give or not to give bonus for any particular year depending on the result of the investment return. So this one is more hidden informations. So dia tak betul-betul explain to the person yang involved with the insurance. Diorang takkan, maksud dia ada hidden information. So it is the third party yang jual insurance tu, dia boleh je fikir ataupun dia boleh je buat keputusan whether dia nak bagi bonus atau dia tak bagi bonus on that year. Okay, for the investment, the fund shall be invested in any interest-free from Sharia justified scheme. The entire procedure shall comply the guidelines of the Sharia investment return, must not be driven by any unethical commercial activities. So this one must be follow the Sharia justified scheme. Tapi kalau untuk insurance fund also may be invest in interest based scheme. This one interest free. So takaful dia lebih kepada invest dalam yang tak ada interest. Tapi kalau fund dia akan invest in interest based scheme. Is also invest in any scheme or project which may not support by Syariah discipline. So mungkin invest tu dalam ke konvensional banyak menjalankan atau memberi riba. provide riba. So investment kalau untuk insurance dia more kepada yang ada interest lah. Interest which mean they provide riba. Tapi kalau in Islam, syariah principle sendiri stated kalau transaction tak boleh ada riba. So investment dia akan follow the syariah justified scheme. Okay, this also the comparison, which means that this one in the nature form and this one for regulation form, this one for the contract. I think all of you can read by yourself what is the difference between takaful and insurance, but you have to think that apa-apa kalau berkaitan dengan Islamic, dia kena follow the syariah principle. Dia tak boleh simply menggunakan ataupun dia tak boleh melanggar syariah principle. Itu yang penting kalau dalam Islamic. But they have to follow all the syariah principle yang dah ditetapkan oleh syariah advisor. Okay, so the second is deposit. So deposit ada 3. Current account deposit, investment deposit and saving deposit. So there are sama juga comparison between Islamic and conventional deposit. So dalam AAOIFI, current account deposit are based on the principle of amanah, wadiah or debt of card. Kalau conventional, it based on the conventional principle. So dia beza. This one on the principle of amanah sebab current account deposit. So it means that kita dah diamanahkan untuk jaga account tu. So that's one is a principle of amanah. So kalau untuk AAOIFI, this one for interest free, and kalau conventional based on interest. And the third one, the fine treat as amanah sebab amanah tu dah diberikan daripada orang yang deposit duit tu untuk kepada bank untuk jaga duit tu. So the fine treated as amanah. Tapi kalau untuk conventional, the fine treated as a tool to generate profit. So the fine are used in the operation must be based on the syariah compliance manner. Dia kena follow syariah compliance. This one non-syariah compliance. And the depositors will reward in term of hibah. Hibah is gift, but it is not fixed based on bank performance. Tapi kalau conventional, depositors will guarantee the return. Contohnya interest. Conventional selalu yang biasa kalau kita pergi kalau dekat mana-mana je lah, Maybank ke, yang conventional bank, bank rakyat ataupun apa-apa CIMB ke. So kalau deposit duit tu, diorang as a customer ataupun as a depositors, kita akan think that once kita simpan duit kita dalam bank, duit kita akan bertambah. Sebab daripada mana? Daripada interest yang kita dapat. Tapi kalau untuk AAOIFI, depositors will be rewarded in term of hibah, but it's not fixed. Maksud dia, if the bank performance is good, kalau bank performance tu bagus, kalau dalam Islamic banking, so baru bank akan bagi reward to the depositors. Once bank tak ada performance ataupun the performance of the bank is not very good, so that the depositors will not get any reward. Itu yang dah beza AAOIFI and conventional. And the next is depositors allow bank to use the money for investment. It is a part of syariah compliance. So depositors yang bagi kebenaran sendiri. Tapi kalau this one is not non-compliance with syariah. For example, kalau AAOIFI deposit mudarabah, so depositors we call as rabumal and the bank mudarib, which mean that fund manager, ataupun kita boleh call the Islamic bank itself lah, mudarib. So mudarib ni orang yang bekerja di dalam bank. And then we call as the person yang buat ataupun menjaga account tersebut, we call as mudarib. So, apa beza office dengan conventional? Return is higher for long-term depositors and lower for short-term depositors. Okey, untuk return bagi conventional, untuk siapa yang deposit untuk tempoh masa yang panjang, dia akan higher, more higher. Tapi kalau short-term depositor, dia akan dapat return lower. So, ini different with the office. Kalau mudarabah, dia akan sama, maksud dia equal. Which means siapa long-term depositor pun akan dapat the return is equal with the short-term depositors. So this one tak ada pun dalam nota you. So I want you to state here the return untuk long-term depositors is equal to the short-term depositors. So sama. Long-term LTD long-term depositors sama dengan short-term depositors. Dia kena adil lah, sebab dalam syariah compliance we have to be equal. Kita tak boleh membeza-bezakan. And the profit will be based on the predetermined ratio agreed by both parties. So the profit will be based on predetermined ratio agreed by both parties. Ni sama je. Untuk AOIFI dengan konvensional akan menjalankan ataupun urusan yang kedua orang sama je. Maksud dia profit dia akan based on agreed by the both party and general based of in a joint investment pool with other deposit mobilized by Islamic or conventional bank. Ni sama je. Maksud dia kalau untuk joint investment pool with other deposit, ini akan mobilized by Islamic. Tapi kalau untuk conventional is for conventional bank lah. So it is the same. Okay, so this is allocated to the number of investment pool, and the Islamic bank invest in the pool amount of Sharia compliance business. So actually, if it is have this sign, it is have a same way. Maksudnya, kalau this one, it is same je dengan conventional. Beza dia, this one is not follow the Sharia compliant. For this one, is profit sharing weightage are assigned based on various tenures and the amount invested under the arrangement. So sama je dengan conventional. And if loss will be borne by Robumal. Robumal yang kita dah belajar tadi, depositors. So conventional pun sama. The loss akan hadap by the depositors. If bank also contribute equity, involve musyarakah and mudarabah contract. So kalau untuk conventional, kalau bank contribute equity, it is involve a contract. Maksud dia tak terlibat dalam musyarakah and mudarabah, tapi dia ada contract dia sendiri. So sama je dengan yang dijalankan dalam AOIFI, cuma AOIFI dia lebih follow kepada syariah. Okay, next is financing versus investment. So investment account fund in Islamic finance institutions. So an IFI's major source of fund is unrestricted investment account fund from its customer. These funds are generally managed by IFIs based on mudarabah investment management based profit sharing agreement. Under mudarabah investment management, IFIs is not liable for loss arising from investment except due to IFIs misconduct, negligence, and etc. It is based on Sharia standard. It's within the Sharia standard. So IFIs standard require unrestricted investment account fund to be presented in statement of financial position as separate item between liabilities and honest equity. In contract based on IFIs, this would be presented as liabilities as long with other deposits. So this one is in the Islamic Finance Institution ataupun IFIs. So IFIs akan base investment account as a unrestricted investment account fund. Okay, selalunya this is the comparison between trade-based financing and interest-based loan. Okay, so kalau interest-based loan lebih kepada konvensional, tapi kalau trade-based financing lebih kepada Islamic. So, kalau kita akan masuk the legal nature of promise. Kalau untuk Islamic, the bank has to purchase the request commodity before selling it to the customer. Tapi kalau interest-based loan, customer is required to make unilateral promise. Maksud dia, unilateral promise ni macam dia buat kontrak dengan bank, kata dia akan beli commodity from bank before the banks make the purchase. So, ini adalah beza legal nature untuk trade-based financing dengan interest-based loan. Untuk profit rate, price include a known profit or markup. Maksud dia contoh, harga untuk dalam Islamic punya, dia nak beli rumah. So, rumah tu 200k. So, harga sebenar rumah tu mungkin dalam 180,000. Tapi dia markup as 20k, dia markup lagi 20,000. So, the markup in murabahah is part of the sale price. It is set only once and then does not change over time. Maksud dia, 20k ni dia akan stick je dengan orang lain pun dia dijual rumah tu dengan harga yang sama. 200k include 20k ni as a markup ataupun is known as profit untuk bank tu. Jadi, the price should be 200k for every transaction yang dia buat between customer dengan bankers tu. Tapi kalau untuk interest-based loan, profit come daripada interest rate. So, interest rate, kita tahu interest rate ni kadang boleh naik, kadang dia boleh turun. So, it is uncertainty. So, dari mana profit yang dibuat dalam interest-based loan adalah based on the interest rate. So, fixed and floating rate. Untuk trade-based financing, murabahah financing product are fixed rate product. The rate once determined for a given contract is not allowed to float with changes in interest rate or any rate. Maksud dia, kalau dalam kontrak dah tulis kata rate of product ni adalah 3%. So, sampai ke habis kontrak, supposedly dia akan sampai 3% lah. Tapi kalau untuk interest-based loan, many conventional banking product are floating rate. This one more kepada fixed rate. This one is floating. Sometimes it going up, sometimes the rate will be going down. So the rate of such loan are automatically adjust upward or downward in line with the changes in interest rate. So ini yang dimaksudkan. So ini dia relate with the interest rate. So dia akan kalau berubah interest rate, so the rate might be up or might be down. Okay, there is another example untuk trade-based financing and interest-based loan. So it is reschedule of payment. Okay, untuk murabahah does not allow such rescheduling as no additional amount can be charged for the same. The amount of murabahah price remain unchanged. So kalau daripada awal kontrak dia buat pembelian rumah tadi 200,000, so sampai habis hanyalah 200,000. Tapi kalau interest-based loan, loan rescheduling is accompanied by additional interest charge for timing differences. So maksud dia, lagi lama orang ataupun depositors ataupun kita call as orang yang buat loan, lagi lama dia bayar, lagi tinggi interest yang dia kena bayar. So ini based on rescheduling of payment. Kalau in trade based financing, rescheduling is not necessary, tapi kalau untuk interest based, it is necessary. And rebate on early payment, so it is given voluntary, it is allowed. Dia boleh untuk dapat rebate, tapi the rate of discount must not be pre-specified in murabahah contract as a condition. So kalau rate of discount, dia tak boleh tetapkan dalam murabahah contract as a condition. Maksud dia tak boleh terma dia, maksud dia once kita baca contract, dia tak boleh specify. It's not be pre-specified sebab it is given voluntary. Maksud dia kalau bank tu voluntary untuk bagi, so that boleh lah. Tapi it is not a right that the debtor can claim. It is not right. So it is based on voluntary. Tapi kalau conventional financial system grant the borrower a discount or rebate if the customer decide to pay earlier than the scheduled time, sebab dia ada reschedule payment. So bila dia ada schedule time, so kalau lagi cepat dia bayar, so dia akan dapat rebate lah untuk conventional. Tapi kalau untuk trade based financing dalam Islamic, it is voluntary. Whether the bank nak bagi ataupun tak, it is depend on the performance of the bank. Okay, next is ownership versus control. So in IFIs, major financing mechanism are operating ijarah and ijarah mutahiyah bin tamlik, leasing that ends will transfer of asset owner to lessee. So dalam operating ijarah and ijarah mutahiyah bin tamlik, leasing that ends with transfer of asset ownership to lessee. For both asset ownership rests with IFI throughout the lease term. In ijarah muntahiyah bitamlik, there must a independent contract for transfer of asset of ownership. AAOIFI standard require both operating ijarah and ijarah muntahiyah bitamlik to trade similar to operating lease. In contrast, based on IFRS, both operating ijarah, especially if lease term is for major part of economic life of lease asset, and ijarah muntahiyah bitamlik due to the transfer of asset ownership by the end of the lease term, would be normally be classified and treated as finance lease. Okay, so this one we will go through what is ownership versus control. Okay, so there is a profit and loss sharing versus lender-borrower relationship. So profit loss sharing ownership, there are two tiers. The first tier between bank and depositors. For the second tier, bank and entrepreneur. So the depositor are considered to be provided to the capital, Rab al-Mal, and the bank function as a working partner or manager of fund, mudarib or amil. Tapi kalau untuk second tier, the entrepreneur is the manager of the fund, but the bank function as a provider of the capital. So this is profit sharing we consider as ownership. Sebab first tier between bank and depositor, depositor is provider of the capital in the bank. Tapi kalau bank function is work as a partner atau manager of fund, orang yang kendalikan the capital. So kalau second tier, bank and entrepreneur is a manager of fund. Kenapa? Sebab bank yang provide the capital to the entrepreneur. Sebab tu kita call as the manager of fund is entrepreneur. And the lender-borrower relationship is control, which means that lender-borrower relationship we call as control. The relationship between a lender and a borrower is governed by a loan contract between them. So, sebab kenapa ada contract, loan contract? Sebab kita bagi pinjam, ada lender and borrower. So, kita govern lender and borrower by loan contract. Such contract would specify all the obligation of two parties in every possible future contingency. Dia kena keluarkan kebarangkalian apa-apa yang akan berlaku terhadap dua-dua parties. Maksud dia, dua-dua parties kena clear apa obligation and everything have been agree on the possible future contingency that happen in the future. And with respect to the amount of repayment, interest rate, possible adjustment, and the action to be undertaken by borrower. So everything have been included in their contract. Okay, the next is right and obligation versus risk and reward. Untuk AAOIFI, risk and reward will be shared by depositors and bank. Tapi untuk konvensional ataupun IASB, kita akan total risk akan borne by the bank, total reward belong to the bank after servicing the depositors at a fixed rate. So, reward dia akan dapat lepas after dia punya service. And the investment reward by profit sharing base kalau untuk AAOIFIs. But untuk investment reward by the interest sebab conventional ada interest. So AAOIFIs cannot invest in government securities, short-term loans, bond and money at call and short notice because of interest-based transaction. Apa-apa yang terlibat dengan interest, Islamic ataupun IFIs tak boleh invest. Tapi kalau untuk IASB, sebab dia based on interest, so dia boleh invest dekat mana-mana instrumen yang dia nak. Okay, next is risk-based transaction have been transformed to asset ownership-based transaction. For example, murabahah. Tapi kalau untuk IASB transaction based on interest and it involve risk. And for the next is sukuk are ownership certificate and not mere debt securities. Hence, all risk and reward are shared by stakeholders. But for the IASB, bond are considered as a debt security. Tapi kalau untuk AAOIFI, dia tak cakap sukuk as a debt security. Sebab risk and reward are shared by all stakeholders. Okay, so the sixth is substance of a form. So AAOIFI dia accept GAAP ataupun ada setengah orang panggil GAAP unless there is a conflict with Syariah. So in particular, AAOIFI has shied away from two of key IFRS principles. The first one is substance of a form. Economic substance of transaction must be recorded instead of just their legal form. And the time value of money given by the market risk-free interest rate. So we go through one by one. Difference between AAOIFI and IFRS on the principle of substance over form. Kalau dalam AAOIFI, recognize the importance of legal form over substance. As such, AAOIFI standard required both operating ijarah and ijarah muntahiyah bitamlik to be treated similar to the operating list. Kalau dalam IFRS, substance over form is an accounting concept which means that economic substance of transaction and event must be recorded in financial statement rather than just their legal form in order to present a true and fair value of the affairs of entity. For example, in MFRS 117, even though an asset may be leased to a lessee without the transfer of legal title at the end of the lease term, such as lease may, in substance, be considered as finance lease. For instance, the lease term is substantially for interest useful life of the asset, or the lease agreement entitled to the lessee to purchase the asset at the end of the lease term at very normal price. So this is, for example, untuk differences between substance over form based on AAOIFI and IFRS. Okay, next is the difference between AAOIFI and IFRS on the principle of time value of money. Untuk AAOIFI, does not recognize time value of money as charging interest rate is consistent with the concept of riba, thus it's prohibited in Islam. Tapi kalau untuk IFRS, time value of money referring to the net present value calculated using discounting factors which reference to interest rate in order to recognize the time value involved. So, time value of money yang you dah kira sebelum ni, macam mana kita nak tahu net present value, kita guna interest rate yang dalam jadual. So, kita akan dapat tahu the net present value yang kita akan dapat lah. So, tapi dalam Islam kan kita tak dibenarkan untuk ada interest rate. So, that's why for AAOIFI, diorang tak adopt time value of money, but for conventional, diorang adopt the time value of money. Next is preparation and presentation of accounting information and disclosure of accounting information. So, this one is theory part. So, I want all of you, please read by yourself so you can know what is the presentation and disclosure requirement for IFIs. For AAOIFIs. So this one is just informations, and it is theoretical part. So you need to do your short notes so that you will be more clear. And then this is the disclosure requirement that needs to be disclosed in the Islamic accounting. They need to avoid any riba transaction, required to be zakat, and disclosure on the accounting information to users for the purpose of serving of God. Memang kita prepare accounting information kena disclose sebab the purpose untuk kita capai Syariah principle to ensure that everyone know the same information and have a clear information in the financial statement. And then FAS ataupun AAOIFI Financial Accounting Standard 1 complete set of financial statement consists of conventional statement. Dia sama je, complete set dia ada balance sheet, income statement, cash flow, statement of changes honest equity, and the notes. It is the same way macam mana conventional ada. Cuma cara diorang trade based on whether follow the Sharia principle or not follow the Sharia principle. And there's also have 3 additional statement according Financial Accounting Standard 1. First is changes in restricted investment yang kita dah belajar tadi. Statement of source and use the fund in zakat and charity funds, the source and uses of fund in card fund. So all of these have been added to the FAS 1 ataupun Financial Accounting Standard 1. The unique function of IFIs, the role of Sharia advisor ataupun Sharia board supervising the bank activities, and the nature of advisor, board, authority, banks by law and actual price will be plus with the bank responsibility towards zakat. So it is the important aspect of unique functions. So the first is the role of the Syariah advisors itself and the bank responsibility towards zakat. And then this is the disclosure of significant accounting policies. So I think you may go through by yourself so you can be more clear about this one. They have stated yang kenapa accounting policies adopted by management of Islamic bank but which are not consistent with the concept of financial accounting for Islamic bank. So this one I have stated clearly in this slide, so you may go through by yourself. And then the 3 and 4 also under the disclosure of significant accounting policies. And this one also, this one show the disclosure requirement on the balance sheet. So apa yang kena kita ataupun IFIs kena buat untuk disclose the notes to the financial statement on the IFIs in allocation of profit between owners, equity and investment account holders. Sebabkan kita nak kena transparent, kita nak kena beritahu all users yang what have been going on in the IFIs, so kita kena beritahu to our users. So that's why kita kena disclose everything in the notes of financial statements. This one also to ensure that to tell ataupun untuk disclose dekat orang luar kata IFIs untuk charging provision and parties to whom they revert once they are no longer required. Okay, this is the reference that you may refer kalau you nak tahu lebih lanjut. And I think that's all for our videos for part 3, and thank you very much for watching. I hope everyone do your short notes so everyone can refer your own notes bila kita ada test ke, kita ada tutorial ke. So I think that's all. Thank you very much and have a nice day.